Hey everyone, Mario again, coming at you with another movie review, and today I'm reviewing a film that I just heard of for the first time today. I watched it a couple hours ago with my uncle after I got home from the gym, wanted to relax for a little bit. He was searching movies on Netflix, came across this one. Looked interesting, so I decided to watch it. It, of course, is a 2012 British/Irish adventure film written and directed by Sid Bennett, and it actually is a part, technically speaking, it is a part of the found footage genre. Now, before I get into it and say the name of the title, as you can tell already up there, this one does not technically have a fully downbeat ending, which I will talk about in due time. It, of course, is a film called The Dinosaur Project. Now, as you can probably guess from how I'm talking, I actually did like the film. I won't say it's flawless, but it's a film I had fun with. But it does have flaws. And apparently I'm in the minority with this, because I gotta check real quick to see what the IMDb has a 4.6, and that's its highest rating, because on Rotten Tomatoes it has a 17% with the critics. That's one of the lowest, that's what the audience, excuse me. That's one of the lowest audience scores I've ever seen. Well, Scary Movie 5 apparently has lower, that's a 4%, but that's probably with the critics. And it has a 31% with the critics, and there's no consensus. Of course, according to them it says 2011, but on Wikipedia says 2012, but I know on DVD here it was released, I don't know, either this year or last year sometime, but I'm in that minority apparently. Now, the premise of the film is it's about a search for a creature called Mokele Mbembe, if I pronounced the last part of that name correctly. If you guys don't know, it's basically the dinosaur, the long-necked dinosaur that supposedly lives in the Congo. Which, if there's any place that a dinosaur will have survived the mass extinction, it would be the Congo, because it's basically remained geographically stable ever since the time of the dinosaurs, and crocodilians live in Africa, so it's possible theoretically, but no one's been able to find it. And based on watching the movie, I could see that this movie apparently did draw some inspiration from some actual expeditions to find it, because I have two books. Should have got them out before the review, but they're two books. One of them is about they're both about monsters. One of them is just about one of them is about monsters and other supernatural stuff, while the other one is specifically about monsters. Fantasy monsters, cryptozoology monsters, and then of course the last one's movie monsters. But each of them have sections about living dinosaurs and Mokele Mbembe exclusively, and they talk about some expeditions. And it seems like the writer/director drew from that. Most of it seems to be drawn from the older ones when people actually supposedly saw Mokele Mbembe, but because of the difficulty in trying to photograph it, or all with film and all that, they weren't able to, the humidity and all that. So you take something like that, but put it in a time where we have more digital technology that can overcome that, you get this. And of course you add in more types of extinct animals, other than, of course, Mokele Mbembe, which we only see that specific monster once in the film, and it is a plesiosaur, which I thought it was an interesting scene. Now, before I go into, I'll talk about the plot first. The plot is that, it's like most found footage films. It starts, with the whole thing at the beginning, and then a little news thing. Then we're introduced to our characters. It's an expedition one, and our leader is a father, and of course he has a son that, as you could probably guess, sneaks aboard with him. Now, this is one of the times where I was thinking, this is like Jurassic Park 2 a little right there. But that's the only thing that came to mind, because the rest of it is slightly different. Because they didn't know, for one, they didn't know dinosaurs were where they were going to. It's more of an accident. But it kind of does have that vibe, dinosaurs trying to kill him when they run to him and do him a couple times. But other than that, I'd say that's about the most it has in common with Jurassic Park. No, it's kind of like, though, for those of you who've always wondered how a Jurassic Park found footage film would be, this is kind of a little bit of an answer to that. But now, eventually they reach the Congo, and they're flying in a helicopter, and in the distance they see these things that they think are birds, but you can even tell from watching it, that's no bird, that's a pterosaur. And of course it eventually causes a helicopter to crash, and one of the crew members dies. They seek shelter at a village that they saw from the air, but then they find out it's abandoned and those villagers are dead. And of course, at night they're attacked by the pterosaurs again there. and another person dies, and they get on these boats and are going down the river. They eventually find this one island where they find these little theropod type dinosaurs. If you're wondering what theropods are, they're basically, the dinosaurs that stood on two legs, that had the arms. Basically, raptors and T-Rex are theropod like dinosaurs. Whatever this one is, it kind of looks like they took inspiration from a velociraptor and a T-Rex, because it has that type of body, but it has that fictional thing that they did for the Dilophosaurus in Jurassic Park, the frill, which I thought was interesting. I mean, hey, if these are dinosaurs that have evolved another 65 million years, who's to say they wouldn't come up with something like that? And it was a cool... I hit my mic. It was a cool little thing. Now, of course, as you can tell, there's going to be the usual things. We got to get out of here. No, we got to catalog this discovery. That thing's in there. And it kind of leads to one of the characters becoming a you-know-what, which I'm not going to spoil who it is. All I'm going to say about it is, ouch, Charlie! Ah, Charlie bit me! I think that's kind of funny to bring up, because I think the people in that video were British, and the characters in this film are British. Although one of them, he's with his the dad, with how he wore his hat. At one point in the film, I was thinking he was going to say, "That's not enough. This is enough." Yeah, that would have made the movie better if Paul Hogan was in it. And of course, you would expect him to get up from the thing. "Oh, you throw rocks at me and my son? Go down there, motherfucker." I know I probably did the voice wrong, but I think you get the point. Now, as the story goes on, like I said, they're trying to figure out what to do, and they run into more dinosaurs. They run into a plesiosaur. They run into one of its relatives, which is a quick thing. When it happened, this is what came to mind. "They ate me! The shark ate me!" Deep Blue Sea, that's what I thought of. And of course, a good shot of dinosaurs in a valley, but done better in Jurassic Park. Now, there are two major weaknesses in this film. One of them is the actors. They're just basically take them or leave them. No. 2 for 1. A couple of them do a good job, like the actress that plays the African lady. I thought she did an okay job. The dad, I thought it was okay. The kid could use a little bit more acting lessons, but I thought he did okay. And then some of the other people I thought were okay. It's just that's just it. They're just okay. For a movie like this, we need actors that really get you motivated. I know it's not the director's fault. Well, at least I don't think, because I thought I thought the film was filmed pretty good. I mean, I like how every once in a while the footage would screw up, which makes sense considering how we find out the footage was found. Even though waterproof bag, that's all I'm going to say about it. And of course, how it kept switching, how the different type of camera things were, and all that. And then of course the story I had no problem with, so I thought, good idea. It's just probably needed more money behind it, because I can't find out what the budget was. But considering I've never heard of this film till now, it probably didn't really have that big a budget. Probably less than 10 million or less, maybe even 5 million probably. But they probably needed some better actors. Like if they had Paul Hogan play the dad, that would have added to it. Need a more experienced kid actor, or at least drive him better. Because I will tell you, obviously you can tell I like Chronicle and Blair Witch better, but that's because those have interesting stories and they had the actors to match them, that you really got invested in them. Like, I'm going to compare it a little bit to Blair Witch here. When the characters are in the situation where they're being stalked by something, Blair Witch, you really do feel for them. Here you do a little bit, but in Blair Witch it's like you really know they're screwed, and you can really tell how scared they are. Here you get a little bit of that, but part of it is different because in Blair Witch you don't know what's stalking them, so you're, depending on if the movie scares you or not, you're feeling the same emotions they are. I'm scared to close my eyes. Whereas in this one, they're being attacked by dinosaurs of all sorts, depending on what point in the film they're at. It's more so them trying to get out of there, and the fear comes from the fact you don't know if the dinosaur is going to be behind you or not. And of course, if you had better actors, it would have worked probably just as well. But for what it is, it's an interesting experiment. If the film was remade as a blockbuster with better actors, it probably could work more. But I do like that it showed some of the actors. Probably, maybe in the future, they'll get work as their talent grows. But the other problem is some of the effects. I mean, some of it could have been practical, but I'm guessing they didn't have the money to hire the experts, or they didn't have any where they were filming or something. Because I don't think they filmed on location. I think they just filmed in random areas or on sets or something. as far as I know, because I don't know if there's any. Yeah, there's not on the Wikipedia. There's nothing about the production, so I'd probably have to look it up somewhere else. But the CGI at times it varies. I mean, there's some moments where it looks good, like when you first see the Plesiosaur. I thought it looked pretty good because of the water effect on it. But then again, that's because, you know, with CGI it's easier to make something that's reptilian than something that's mammalian, and that's still true now. I mean, want an example? Look at the werewolves in Twilight and compare them to the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park. Which looks better? The dinosaurs. Even 20 years later, those effects still look better. Which is kind of sad if you think about it, but that Plesiosaur looked good. But then there are other times where the theropod dinosaurs, they look, it's like, okay, you can see the computer a little bit there. Probably the CGI works best though for the dinosaurs in the scenes where they're in darkness or it's light out, but you know, it's like they're in the shadow, like when the one guy's chasing him through the trees. Which that's one thing I'll say about the movie. I liked it. There are a few comedic moments in it I did like I get to in a moment. It's kind of connected to this. Like most of the time when we see the pterosaurs, they're usually in the shadows, except for the last time where we actually get to see their heads, which their heads look like dragon heads, or at least that's what I thought they looked like. It's like did Draco from Dragonheart mate with a pterosaur? Is that why they have those heads? Just something I noticed. And but the first time we see them, not the first time. This is the first time they're attacked directly by him, and we see them in the shadows. It works well. Now, as the comedy moments, they work. Probably my favorite one is when the Mike guy is chasing the pterosaurs through the trees, like saying random stuff like, "Yeah, Dave, the sound works." And he's playing Whack a Pterosaur with it. You just put in some comedic music. Na 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 na. Of course, it ends badly for the guy, as you could probably guess. And of course, I really did buy the relationship between the father and son. It's just it probably would have been bought more if the actors had been better, but I kind of bought it. And the guy's kind of an absentee dad, which I kind of got that, because they do seem to be close yet distant, but probably a little bit more distant because of the dad's work. Like I said, better actors. Overall, can I recommend this movie? If you just want to see how a dinosaur found footage film goes, yeah. It does have my interest piqued of how you could do this if you were to do something like, you take the concept of something like this, you add a little bit of Dino Crisis, and add a little bit of Doom, or Aliens. That would be an interesting movie to see. That's a movie I'd actually like to be in. It'd be very interesting. Anyway, my rating for this film, in all honesty, even with its problems, I did enjoy it. For me, probably 3 out of 5 stars.